Time being 4 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, will you take roll call, please?
Gary, Ray,
Here.
Don,
Here.
Jeff.
Here. Welcome to all the observers, media. I would like to ask everyone to please silence your cell phones, either put them on silent or turn them off until the meeting is completed, not to interfere. Are there any commissioners here who have financial conflict of interest for today?
Nope. Have none.
I have none either. How about a non-financial interest?
Nope. None.
None. Okay. Is there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Well, I'd like to add to the new agenda, I guess, after the swearing in, discussion on truck traffic on Deer Boulevard from 314 to Highway 50.
And I would just like to make an announcement about Ray Epp getting an award. So we'll do that right before we report out. Okay, everybody have a chance to, okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes.
Second that.
Okay. I just want to mention that Patty did make some corrections, and if you had noticed in the original draft of them that there were some, the new ones cover all the mistakes that was in the Board of Adjustment. So all in favor say aye.
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 Second.
No.
Did Ray?
Yeah, Ray seconded. Okay, so now we have the old business. Are there any old business? December payroll. Have you had a chance to review the December payroll?
Move approval of the December payroll.
Second that.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Qualm.
All right.
We have the auditor report.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Toby Qualm, and I'm with Legislative Audit, and I'm here to go over the audit findings for the 2016-2017 audit period. How we break the audit findings down is internal control related audit findings, and
Could you move that microphone over right in front of you there?
Yep.
There you go.
and those are either written findings, which will be included in the audit report, or just more minor findings that we just feel still need the attention of the board. So, and then there's material violations of law and more immaterial violations of law. So we have, some of all of those types. I think I'll go over the major findings first, and these will be included with the audit report. The first one is an internal control related finding related to financial reporting. We noted that internal controls over financial reporting for the years 2016 and 17 were inadequate, resulting in inaccurate information being presented to the users of the annual financial reports. Some of the reporting errors were due to the county auditor not making a proper determination of major funds prior to completing the annual financial reports. We recommend the county strengthen internal controls over financial reporting, and that'll be discussed further in audit finding 2017-01, which will be included in the audit report. Most of the errors were reclassification type errors where we'll have a revenue in the wrong account or something like that.
So there's no disparity between cash and?
No, the cash that the county reported was there is there. It's just, it's kind of a classification type error. So
Okay.
We discussed those with the county auditor, and, you know, the ones that are large enough, she agreed to adjust, so we made those adjustments, and we'll be giving a clean opinion on the financial statements. So the errors, the major errors have been corrected in the audit report.
Okay.
The second written finding we have is that we noted that the county made expenditures in excess of appropriations. This is a violation of SDCL 72125. The largest one was related to that debt refunding we did. We issued bonds to pay off bonds, and the money actually never came, you know, into the treasurer's office or anything like that. It's handled in an outside account. So when the money flows out, we still need to report the expenditure. We need to budget for the expenditure, and we just neglected to do that. So, you know, the money was there. It's not like it's
But it was
just,
never receipted in,
it was never receipted in.
so therefore it couldn't be,
Right. We had an account. It goes automatically into an account in Sioux Falls, sits there, and then when they pay the old bonds off, we need to report that both as a revenue and an expenditure, and we need to budget for that expenditure, and, you know, we just didn't do that.
okay?
Now into a smaller internal control deficiency that we noted was that the county jail could not support the amount stated in their bank account with any sort of subsidiary listing showing who the monies belong to. We recommend that the jail establish subsidiary listing detailing the ownership of the monies on hand at the county jail.
So as you explained to me, this is, perhaps there's a checking account or a account maybe that the prisoners have put money into?
Yep, there's an inmate account there, and we just don't have any listing of, you know, if we have, say, $10,000 in that account, we don't know whose money that is for sure.
Okay.
So we recommend that, yeah, we come up with some sort of listing to determine whose money that is.
Okay,
And now moving on to some immaterial violations of the law. We did note several checks at the county jail that were outstanding for greater than 1 year and had not been either reissued or remitted to the state treasurer of the state of South Dakota. This is a violation of SDCL 4341B. Anything over a year old needs to be turned over or else reissued to the person we issued it to before.
okay,
And the last thing, we noted that during October of 2016, the county improperly received quarterly motor vehicle remittances from the state of South Dakota. This error resulted in the county road and bridge fund receiving approximately $92,000 less than it should have. The townships of the county received approximately $57,000 too much, while the municipalities received approximately $35,000 too much. We recommend that the county consult with their state's attorney in order to determine the best course of action for repayment by the overpaid townships and municipalities.
is it something that has to be repaid, or,
That is up to you. If you're gonna pursue it, I would say that's up to you as a board.
okay?
If you wanna go after the funds that should've went into the road and bridge fund. So,
But it was in October of 2016, and it went to the townships and the
and the cities, yeah.
municipalities?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So, thank you. If there's no more questions,
Anybody have any questions, Don? Ray?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you for a thorough audit. Exiting. Okay, well then, I would like to, as I mentioned earlier, Commissioner Ray Epp is going to be recognized tomorrow by the South Dakota Pork Producers as the 2018 All-American Award winner for his dedicated and involved business in the pork field. So congratulations, Ray. Ray.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Then I would like to have a motion to adjourn sine die.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Write it down.
Sorry. Didn't see it. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, how are you, Joe? Sure.
Anybody?
You want to raise your right hand? And then just repeat what's after. I, say your name.
I, Joe Healy,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Yankton County Commissioner to the best of my ability.
and faithfully discharge the duties of Yankton County Commissioner to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. And at this time, I call for nominations for chairperson.
I move that Dan Clemish serve as our chair.
Second.
Now I need a motion to cease nominations and a unanimous nomination for Dan Clemish.
Make a motion that nominations cease.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I ask for nominations for vice chair.
Make a motion that Sherry Lose be vice chair.
I'll
Second.
I move nominations cease. We cast a unanimous ballot. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Congratulations, Sherry. It's my first act as a commissioner. I would like to thank the previous commission for their hard work and accomplishment. Let us give the previous commission a round of applause to thank you for their last 4 years. As I look out into this crowd, I see so many to who I owe so much, and I wanted to say thank you. I'd like to recognize my beautiful wife, Amy, and my 4 amazing kids, Allie, Adrina, Ava, and Aurora. Thank you so much. And my parents, Harold and Jan Clemish, thank you for all your support. I want to thank all of Yankton County for their outstanding support and for putting your trust and faith in me. I will continue to rely on you for support and encouragement. Our county is at a historic and exciting moment. Over 2 months ago, the citizens spoke and 3 new commissioners were elected. This is proof that the checks and balances that our forefathers put in place in our Constitution remain just as important today as when they were signed back in 1787. We have been elected by the citizens of Yankton County in a clear mandate for change. We need a new direction and new ideas, but most importantly, we must restore the citizens' faith in our local government. And we're going to do that by putting the safety, health, and welfare of our citizens before corporate interests. I now represent all citizens of Yankton County, and we must realize that our county is divided, but now is the time for us to come together and move Yankton County forward. Let us discuss the issues and reach compromises so that we can make Yankton County the best it can be for all citizens. We need to face the facts. Our jobs will not be easy. We will not always agree. We don't have all the answers, but let us be truthful, honest, and respectful to each other. Thank you very much. Any of the other commissioners like to say a few words? I do have one more thing I'd like to say is last week, our county lost a very special person, Joyce Franklin. Joyce was appointed to the Yankton County Planning Commission in early 2003 and was instrumental in working on and passing the Yankton County zoning ordinance. She was deeply involved in many levels and conducted many special meetings and countless late hours. Her influence is found throughout our Yankton County ordinance and comprehensive plan. Joyce served as the chairman of the Planning Commission through some very difficult times, but her leadership, dedication, and hard work on behalf of the citizens of Yankton County is without equal. I ask that we take a moment of silence to honor Joyce Franklin's memory. Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is claims. Do we have any questions on the claims?
I do not. My questions were already answered by the auditor, so I'm good.
I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve the claims.
Is there a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item 7, designate newspapers.
The P&D and the Observer
Okay.
as the official newspapers. Everything is advertised in.
Okay.
I move that we adopt the P&D and the Observer as our official newspapers for 2019.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, we're moving too far ahead on time.
No, because nothing is.
Okay, okay. Next item on the agenda, the 2019 calendar.
I make a motion to approve the calendar as written.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Further discussion. I actually have some further discussion. There was talk about possibly changing the date of the Planning Commission meeting. So if it would be okay with the commissioners, I think we should maybe hold off and approve that the next meeting. But you got a motion and a second. So all those in favor of approving it, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will do it next meeting.
So you oppose?
Yes,
You did.
we'll do it next meeting, since we have a tie.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, committee appointments.
I did ask Patty for an advance copy of the 2018 committee, knowing that we had 3 commissioners who we had to change a bunch of the assignments for. And I did talk to Joe and Dan. I did not talk to Don or Gary. So here is what I propose we do. The goal was to try and leave Don and Gary in as many of their current roles as possible, and then to fill Todd, Ray, and Deb's roles. So what I did here is the first sheet shows who had it last year, and a name is behind there. And if you'll notice, there is a second sheet, because I'm a table kind of person. So the second sheet has a list of people with assignments proposed below them. So most everything, Don, certainly you'll probably want to scan through there. Most everything, unless there's a committee assignment you're looking to maybe switch up a little bit. And Gary is not here to comment.
That second page, Don, has, you can just look at your name and what you're on. It should mostly be the same, I think.
I think this looks really good, very thorough.
The one thing at the bottom is I noticed that no one is currently on our conservation board, and I think that's an important role. So if it is okay, I would like to add that, and I would certainly take on that role. The other one that is added at the bottom is an IT person to help the county itself focus on where we're at using IT and where we might go in the future, because it's certainly a method to use to become more efficient with certain tasks. And
That was
Dan.
asked by Craig Miller, our IT person, to have.
And Dan has volunteered to put his name behind that. So if you look, Sherry's got 8, Dan has 8, Don has 8, Gary has 7, and Joe has 8.
Do you want to have, fill in the names and then approve it at the next meeting?
I think we can, the names are here.
I would, the only thing, I see I'm off the planning and zoning, and I'm fine with that. But I do have interest in the experience that I've gained from the highway department.
Would you be okay if we had 2 on the highway department?
Oh, absolutely.
Then certainly you're welcome to join me, because I think my name's by the highway department.
So we're gonna add to the highway department?
Yeah.
Is that the road committee?
Roads, it's the
Road
roads committee.
So 2. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the proposed committee assignments.
Second?
I got a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, plat for Bay Cliff Estates, lots 15 through 16. Pat? Thank you. Are these all the same, Pat?
It's the same plat. You've got a plat in front of you for Lot 15 and Lot 16 of Bay Cliff Estates. It's in Section 18 of Utica South Township. This plat is has been on a preliminary plat, so it's been laid out prior to the this preliminary plat was laid out probably about 5 years ago, and so it turns that these are minor plats because they are sticking to the plat arrangement as they did in the very beginning. So these go straight to the county commission, and generally they're under the consent agenda, but we pulled them out, and so in front of you is a lot or plat for Lot 15 and Lot 16, and they both meet regulation size of moderate density rural residential. Any questions?
This was the preliminary one when Bay Cliff started 5 years, when that road was developed.
Correct.
When those started. Did that go through planning and zoning at the time?
They did the Bay Cliff, no, the subdivision ordinance wasn't in place then.
Okay. And minimum lot size is 1 acre.
Correct. They have their ingress, egress proper, and they are sticking to the original preliminary plat that they are, that they have there, which you have in front of you. You can see all the other lots that are there. So several of them are platted and several of them are still coming. You can see the darker lines are the ones that are currently platted, and the lighter lines are the ones that are still coming. And then they plat them as they sell them.
Okay.
If there are no more questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Move approval of the plat.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Don,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Pam.
Yes. Motion passed. Next item on the agenda.
We,
Yes.
we probably gotta wait for that. Yeah.
Okay. That,
Hand me the rest of it.
yep. We want to go on to the property and casualty insurance. Is Mr. Smith here? Yeah, we are pretty early. You want to go on to another, while we wait for Mr. Smith? We have quite some time. We have 20 minutes before he's here. Is Mr. Roger Smith here?
No, it's not here.
Okay.
I can see if he can come, you can,
Okay.
30 minutes.
Is he? Okay. We want to move on to another item? Do we want to move on to another item while we're waiting? Yeah. We're going to move on to a next item while we're waiting. Yankton County Citizen Petition for Mr. Tao.
Dan,
Yes.
I can do this road deal too.
You want to do that? We'll do that next while we're waiting. Thanks. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Phil Taw from Gayville. Thanks for allowing me a few moments of your time. First off, congratulations to the 3 new commissioners. Your victory was by a large margin. And some would say it was a single issue election, but I think it was more than just hogs. It was about responsible governance and the culture change. To that end, I urge you to be the commissioner of all of Yankton for all of our futures. The hard task of governing begins now, and all sides are watching, expecting to see even-handedness and transparency. I wish you wisdom in dealing with the many difficult decisions that lay ahead of you. Which brings me to the point of a request by many citizens of Yankton County. I realize that even my appearance before you tonight has caused quite the stir on Facebook and other media, warning of the impending doom and hostile takeover of the county. So even I have sought a measure of wisdom for the upcoming days. So our request is simple. Open the Yankton County zoning ordinance for an administrative review. Events over the past 2 years and revelations over the past month require these matters to be investigated. The citizens have lost trust and faith in the county to provide accurate and current information. For over 18 months, we have been told to view the ordinance online. Even a circuit court judge made a ruling by quoting an out-of-date ordinance. On December 7th of 2018, just a month ago, I was personally informed by the zoning office to obtain a copy of the zoning ordinance online. Upon further request, it was relayed to me to get a copy from District 3 Planning Office. I found this odd, but pursued that option anyway, and was told by them that they are not the keeper of county documents, and that I should visit the Register of Deeds office. I visited that office on December 10th and found both the hard copy in the vault at the Register of Deeds and their electronic version matched the online version. All of them were the same, apparently out-of-date document. Yet procedures were not being followed according to that version. So, what is current? How many changes have been made since 2009? Nearly 10 years worth. Since the online posting around 2014, is a reasonable expectation that citizens can view a current version somehow unreasonable? Can the citizens of this county get a copy without being sent to the state's attorney's office? It's time to find out. It's time to ask the difficult questions and respond appropriately to the difficult answers. We, all the citizens of Yankton County, deserve this action before moving forward with decisions that affect all of us. Thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you.
Don, did you want to do the road? Or did you have a road agenda item that you wanted to
Yeah,
do next?
discussion with the commissioners. I got a call this week from Bob Law, who lives on Deer Boulevard, and he had reported that neighbors had indicated that there were a number of trucks with Nebraska license plates that are using Deer Boulevard. They come out on 314, use Deer Boulevard to go up to Napa Junction to Highway 50. And I contacted our acting highway superintendent, and he indicated that the city has no through trucks on West City Lemons Road, and I believe, I'm not sure on whether it's on 11th Street and 8th Street, but the city doesn't want them coming that direction either. So his proposal, the highway superintendent's proposal was, and also what Mr. Law's proposal was, that we put a no through truck sign up on each end of Deer Boulevard between 314 and Highway 50. There are two main farmers on that road that use it, as Randy Churchma, who has a livestock trucking company. I think most of Randy's trips are probably empty trucks, because he does feed a few cattle there, but not many. And for the sake of maintenance and servability of the roads, they have another route to get there that was designed to get them there. So I would move that if our attorney approves, that we put a no-through sign up on that highway.
Sorry to ask, is this an agenda item?
I know it isn't.
Okay, no.
We just added it.
I can look and see about truck routes and stuff.
Yeah.
We want to put it on then for the next meeting.
Let's have our new road commission people down. Jerry, why don't you look into this, put it on the meeting for the next agenda, and so we can look at taking action on this. Was there anything else you wanted to go over?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Don.
I have Rogers on his way.
Okay, Roger's on his way. Do we want to move up? What else can we do next? Is Katie Dottie here for 4-H? All right. We want to discuss the HR. Move that up.
Yeah, I'm good
Yep.
with that.
We
Okay.
can discuss that.
Let's move that up while we're waiting. Don?
Over the past probably 6 months, a number of items have come up that we talked about, and the previous commission talked about, and thought that it would be a good idea to engage the services of an HR person involving salary, benefits, hiring, firing, all the HR issues that come before an organization. And looking at other counties, almost all the counties in the area are looking to add, although I think our neighboring 2 or 3 don't have an HR person at this time, but they're looking. Lincoln just hired their own. They had one with Minnehaha previously, so it seems like it's when we went to our summer training in Pierre, it was high on the agenda items to avoid potential lawsuits, to get HR skills in. I think there's a possibility of utilizing the services with another county. I'd like to explore that when people, if we go ahead and do it. But
I know I've talked with several departments, and you know, it's kind of a mixed review on people who feel we need one, people who don't. But the general consensus I've gotten is that even from people who feel that it would be beneficial, is that we could not support a full-time position just on the duty. So it, you know, likely we would have to go that route if that's what.
Well, I'd probably challenge that, Joe, but the number that seems to come up with that they say you probably need, if you have an organization of over 100 people, you're ready for an HR person.
Sure.
And I certainly think we can do that in the county without adding the FTE. We just have to adjust the people around so that we can accomplish that. But
sure.
Expand on that without adding an FTE.
well, there are probably a number of people that in the county that, given the chance to take on additional duties, probably would be willing to do so. And we just have to adjust the FTE scale so that can be accomplished. Maybe it's an extra person in the highway department. That person likely won't be an HR person, but the FTE slot could be designated for that. And it may take a year or 2 years to work into it. Maybe it comes through retirement of people, but
Do you think it'd
companies
be?
do it all the time. You know that.
Do you think it would be wise that we try to pick a couple members of our staff, someone who's pro and someone who's maybe resisting adding the position and researching it a little further, and getting a list of specific duties we are looking for this person to do, and then to go and talk to the other counties?
I would suggest that that might be one course of action that you take. You might take another course where you develop. If you go on the internet, there's dozens and dozens of job descriptions out there for HR people at county levels, and you can go in and pull out those job descriptions and pull out the functions that we want in this county. I would say we should make the decision, if we want to do this, we should develop the job descriptions that we as management leadership wants, and then bring the staff in to get their concurrence that it is the right.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, Don. I think the next step beyond that for me is who's currently doing those duties today. And certainly there's a couple duties that probably aren't getting done as well as maybe they could, but the majority of them are getting done. They've been because we haven't had an HR person, so I guess as part of looking into this before we make the decision, and I think we need to come to consensus for or against before budget, and that's May, June time frame, is to really identify who's currently doing those tasks that are on those general ideas of what an HR person provides. And then to see, again, getting back to your FTE, of really what's the best choice to go forward. And I'm sorry, I'm not for or against it sitting here today, but I'm a numbers gal, and certainly I like to know who's responsible for what, and making sure that we are getting what we are asking for.
Has this position been budgeted for in the previous budget?
No, not for this year.
It has not. Do we have a job description for this position? So,
I've collected job descriptions from other counties and governmental organizations, but have we put one together? No. And I feel that really is a function of this team, plus maybe some help from a HR person or two from an organization in town that we might borrow their expertise or share it.
has there been any discussion about possibly sharing a person part-time with the city or another?
The city doesn't want anything to do with it.
No,
Yes, there has been.
Sure. I don't know how much work, I'm sure you've done a lot of work on
Yeah.
this, Don. We're getting up to speed on this.
Yeah,
So.
what you probably don't know is that we do have there have been some issues concerning salaries and levels, and they continue to be there. And part of the resolution was that in the long run, and they understood this was dependent upon a new commission, but in the long run, the expertise of an HR person would be brought in to get a fair and equitable administration program.
Now, I know District 3 does some of that work throughout the state, because I have seen, and forgive me, it was either 2016 or 2017, a salary analysis for all of the counties, and I thought they said one was coming out this year, but maybe I'm mistaken on that. So certainly you...
That's a salary analysis, though.
Right,
That's
but...
not a salary program, two different things.
No, but it is a place to start to see who's got HR right now and what they're getting paid. So we have some type going forth before budget as to if we really want to proceed as well, because it's a big factor, is the cost. So I look to that report as some type of reference to give us some guidance going forward.
And I know this has been discussed, in the past, and you've done some work on it. But as a new commissioner coming in, I guess I need to see, and I'm not saying it's not needed, I just need to see, what are the pains, what are we experiencing, and where's this coming from? And I think more discussion, I think you're right, we can look at the pull job descriptions and kind of say, okay, yeah, that would be nice. In this HR position, we like these functions, and maybe this one we like those functions, and kind of work in parallel with having discussions within the county itself on, not necessarily who, but, the needs for an HR position, and, why we feel we need it, and then why we feel we might not need it, or if it's being handled already, but just to have, I guess, bring us up to speed on some of that stuff.
I think this issue needs to be studied a little bit more. Maybe we could form a committee, a couple commissioners, department heads. We could look into this a little bit more, if you think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I certainly think we need to look into it.
Yeah, I do. It's a,
So
full-time position essentially with benefits. It's
we'll
big.
probably need to table this discussion and bring it back. Maybe the next meeting, we can form a committee, a couple commissioners and some department heads. Look into it, look on what we want as an HR personnel, what we need, and how we're gonna pay for it. What's that? That's salaries. That's on, and salaries, is that everybody's salaries? Okay.
Do the salaries too. And in the December meeting, Brian Hunoff attended the meeting and made a formal request for a across-the-board salary adjustment. And the motion was made and approved to pass that on to the new commission because it affects this group, and they didn't want to hang the expense on this group. So I think it's out there. Brian needs and deserves an answer to it, and so I think it's on the table.
I have a question. What was the CPI adjustment to the county's budget this year? 2.1. 2.1.
I don't know if you want to request that Brian come back and express his philosophy on the need for it. It's an issue, I guess, that we haven't dealt with, I don't think, an out-of-budget raise in the past 4 years that I recall. Patty.
So it's been 2% for 4 years?
But what you're saying is this would be outside of what our approved budget was.
Yeah.
Right, and that's,
And
you know, I listened to Mr. Hunoff speak, and I don't disagree with much of what he said. I guess I have a little issue with operating outside of the budget, personally, and you know, I think that should be brought up during budget time. But I certainly will still entertain it, but that's just my initial thoughts on it.
The thought is that the county had a really successful year on new businesses increased.
Sure.
And that was the reason for the request.
Sure.
At that time.
Okay.
I'm in your book. We had it in the budget, and
I think if I'm trying to find it here, but in this audit that we just listened to, we kind of got in trouble for operating outside of our budget on different line items, if I remember looking at.
well, I think you certainly can do that, Patty. We can do what he's asked. That's not in violation, Joe.
Okay.
You can do that.
It's just at the end of the
It'd just
year,
be an
if a
amendment.
budget is, you know,
Sure.
then it has to be supplemented.
Sure.
You know, just as long as it's not in a minus balance at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah.
We'll probably come up with it.
Right. I guess, like I say, I still, you know, am open to entertaining it, but that's my initial thoughts is, you know, it was not budgeted for. CPI was 2.1% of the budget's growth. And, you know, and I certainly see Mr. Hunoff's point of view though, where, to me, it's much easier and much, more beneficial to the county to retain employees than to try to hire and retrain. We're going through that right now with the highway department, and that's costly. You know, I think most studies say you're on about a 2-year, takes about 2 years to get some of these positions up to speed, so you're effectively losing money, running inefficiently, so, you know, like I say, I'm not opposed to it. I would have to have more discussion on it.
So you're going to be efficient in 2 years?
I take 4.
Do we want to?
I am going to add something. Something I was throwing around looking at, I did have a copy of the current wages being given to folks, and there's certainly some variation between people. Sometimes when you do a straight percent raise all the time, it's like compound interest, and you're helping the people at the top more than you're helping the people at the bottom. So I think the next time we do, and maybe it is this time, is to consider, instead of a percentage, maybe you do a percentage and $500 or something, so you are moving your base pay for your lower paid folks, and everybody gets $500, something like that. So I think that the next time that we do this, and again, maybe it's this time we choose to do it, is to consider maybe a combination of a percentage and then just a base across the bottom, so much an hour, so much a year. So something to give thought to kind of boost those lower level wages a
Kind of
little bit more.
rebalance the.
A little, to some degree, yeah.
I'd like to hear Mr. Hunoff's pitch again. And
Okay.
if we're not ready to make a decision on this, we could do it at another time, unless somebody has a motion. We can table this issue. Table it?
Yeah, that's
Need a
fine with me.
motion?
Oh, you need a motion to table it?
No.
I don't think so.
Ready? Okay. All right, so we will talk about this at another time. Is Mr. Smith here? Roger Smith? Roger Smith? Are you
Roger?
here?
There he is.
Next item on the agenda, property and casualty insurance by Mr. Roger Smith. Welcome.
New commissioners and Patty and Don. I've been doing this a long time, and I've been called to tell you the meeting's going to go on longer. This one's called me telling me to get here early, so I don't know what that means.
Efficiency.
Yeah. I just want to bring the new commissioners up to speed a little bit on insurance. I'm Roger Smith with Smith Insurance here in Yankton. I've been doing this for a long time, meeting with the commission a number of times during the year to bring them up to speed on insurance coverage and costs and so forth. So I'll just do a real quick summary of where we're at with the insurance, property casualty, workers' compensation for Yankton County. The workers' compensation had to get done before January 1, so that was done with the old commission in December. The premium was paid, policies in force. The property and casualty, which is your liability, your property insurance, your vehicles, equipment, those kinds of coverages, that policy is in force. January 1. I've got the policy here, but I won't deliver it because here's what I think needs to be done. A short history on county insurance in South Dakota. There's 66 counties, and I think there's just 2 companies that are writing counties in South Dakota. There may be a third or fourth, but if they do, they don't write very many. You've got EMC Insurance Company, Employers Mutual Insurance Company. Their regional office is Omaha. And then there's a South Dakota Public Insurance Alliance, SDPAA. It was formed about 15 years ago because counties couldn't buy insurance. There was problems in the insurance market, problems with claims, and a lot of companies pulled out. So they formed South Dakota Public Insurance Alliance, SDPAA. And I would say probably SDPAA writes, I'm going to say 2/3 of the counties. Employers Mutual writes 1/3 of the counties in South Dakota. And there may be 1 or 2 I'm missing, but that's pretty close. Yankton County has been for, I think, about 15 years with Employers Mutual. And it's been, I think, a good fit for Yankton County. And every so often, either a commissioner would ask SDPAA to get a quote for Yankton County, or they just would come along and make a quote. Now, the last one we did, I think, was, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it just didn't work out at that time. So they talked to Patty. They got the impetus to talk to Patty and get a quote through South Dakota PAA this year, which Patty has and I have. And there's some drastic differences between their program, I shouldn't say drastic, some changes between their program and Employers Mutual. So my suggestion would be, because you aren't going to get it done in a 5 or 10 minute meeting or 15-minute meeting, would be to get 1 or 2 commissioners, not 3, because that would be a quorum, but 1 or 2 to sit down and look at the Employers Mutual coverage and pricing and SDPAA coverage and pricing. Just put them on the table side by side. Don and I did a little of this a couple years ago. We didn't have anything to compare it with. We just made some changes in the insurance program for the county to try to bring some costs down. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years, but some time ago. And that's, we don't do that very often because everything just kind of moves along and coverages move along and pricing stays the same. But now we've got another quote. And they're different programs, different ways they do things, and it's going to take more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's going to take some time, and I don't think you want to spend that time in a meeting where a commissioner or 2 gets some kind of agreement. Sit down with Patty and I and a commissioner or 2 and just compare. Now, we need to be in a hurry, but not in a great hurry, because you got coverage in place. And there's nothing to do at this time, no billing going out or anything. So we've got some time, but we should try to do it in the month of January, so we can get it done February or March 1 or April 1 or something if we're going to make a change. If everything stays the same with the Employers Mutual, then everything stays the same. But if we need to make a change, you got to cancel one, make sure the dates are canceled right. There's just some things you've got to do to make sure there's not a gap in coverage. So it takes a little bit of time. So I would suggest sometime in January, early February, my recommendation would be to the commission to do something like that. And not take time now and not make a decision now, because it just takes a little more time than that. So having said that, I'll have you ask questions, or if you have any questions.
So it automatically renews every month?
Every year, January 1.
But you can cancel it at any time?
You can cancel at any time, no penalty for cancellation. The workers' compensation is done, and that's with the South Dakota PA work comp. They've got every county in South Dakota. Work comp writes every county in South Dakota, all 66. I think I may be missing a county or 2, but I think they write them all, plus other stuff, other townships and counties and water boards and so forth. And then the policy just renews January 1, and if there's really, it's been in some years, there's really been you don't need any time, everything's the same. There hadn't been any claims, and pricing stays the same, and so it's good. Let's just keep going. There are some changes this year with STPA that are different. There's changes with Employers Mutual that are different. Pricing and coverages and deductibles and so forth. So, and then lastly, some years ago, the the ambulance department and Paul Scherschlicht and the emergency management, they've pulled their coverages off this products we're talking about, and they've got a separate policy for. It's with a company in Pierre, handled out of Pierre, and it's for the ambulance department for their malpractice liability, their ambulances and so forth, and then for Paul Scherschlicht's search and rescue and emergency management. So that's separate from this discussion. I think that's about the only place those 2 outfits can go for proper coverage at a price that's better than anybody else.
So that makes sense to you that they're
Yeah. Well, we didn't do it for a long time, and everybody else was doing it. Said, yeah, we better jump. This has been, I bet 10 years ago. We jumped on that program. It's called the Fire Pack, Ambulance Pack. It's written out of Pierre. The broker is out of Pierre, and it's worked pretty well. So that'd be my suggestion. Or if you want to take the time in this meeting, at a meeting, and do it, we better schedule a lot more time. Just getting up to speed where you're at, and here's the differences, and it's not a. Years ago, it used to be a 5 or 10 minute discussion. It'd be some hours discussion.
Don, would you be willing to be on that committee again since you're up to speed?
I can as well. Dabbled in
Why
insurance.
don't we get you 2 to meet with?
That's fine.
I didn't hear Don agree yet.
He's already up to speed. We're looking
So
for
I'd
your
be happy
experience, Don.
Well, and Pat, we need to schedule. I'm available most any time, so whenever Patty has time, you know, she's busy, we're all busy. She's busy, but I'll make time whenever. So I guess let you guys talk to Patty and give me a date, I guess. Should it be Don and Cheryl?
Sherry.
Sherry, sorry. So I'll hear from you, from Patty. Is that,
Yeah.
you and I talked about it, and you thought that'd be a good idea, too.
I did.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. I'll wait till I hear from you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all.
Very much. This is Katie Dottie. We are a little ahead of schedule. You want to take a 5-minute break? Or what else? I don't think we have too much more to go.
I can tell you that it'll take about 10 seconds, but I won't be at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, while we're waiting for the next. Yes.
Read Gary's.
I guess I could do that. I was handed something from Gary Swenson. He asked me to read at this meeting. He went on December 4th, he went to the VA hospital and he found out he had some heart difficulties and he ended up getting a double bypass surgery. That's why he's been absent at the last several meetings. He's still recovering. He's not able to drive. The operation was a success and he thanks everybody for their words of encouragement and prayers, and he said he'll be back very soon, better than ever. So that's why Gary Swenson has not been at meetings lately. So I'll give that to you. While we're waiting for the next person, Miss Katie Dottie, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break. What? Oh, is she here? Okay. Never mind. Well,
We're running ahead.
yeah,
No worries.
sorry. Thank you.
All right, so I am Katie Doty, and I am the Yankton County 4-H Program Assistant. I believe you guys all have the activity report in your packets, and that was all of last year's activities that we did, 4-H or non-4-H activities. So if you guys have any questions.
Get it? Yeah, I went through this. You're busy.
Yes, I was very busy last year.
How many kids are in your 4-H program?
Currently, as of today, we have 105.
Oh, wow.
And they have until May 31st to sign up. 28 of those are actually new members too, so.
All young,
They range anywhere from 5 to 18.
but the new ones
The new
too.
ones are fairly young, yes, the majority of them.
That's good.
Katie, I'd tell you that the leadership at the Boys and Girls Club speaks very highly of your work there.
Awesome, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Does 2019 look similar to 2018, or do you know
It's
far out? Or?
fairly close, yes. I'm still doing stuff with the Boys and Girls Club this summer, and I still do stuff in all the schools. I am currently doing stuff in the schools with the We Do Lego Robotics. And then I'm focusing more on 4-H and adding some things for 4-H kids and to our county fair for this year.
I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but do you ever teach things like canning fruit and vegetables and that kind of stuff?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't personally know much about that, but we are doing a canning workshop in February for the kids that I'm getting some help with, teaching them.
Okay,
So.
good.
Do you do the garden there at the Boys and Girls Club?
Yep, the garden club.
Does the high school FFA help with that, or?
Nope, we haven't. I know there's been kind of talk, getting the FFA involved more with 4-H, and that's something to work with still.
I know my son takes a lot of the ag classes at the high school, so he finds them very interesting, other than sitting in a classroom all day, he says.
Yes, more interactive.
It's much different than when I was in 4-H.
Yes.
A lot more opportunity. And your seed library, that happens at the library?
Yep.
How many people do you get that come to that meeting?
I only do the youth classes, and they backed off from doing youth classes every other month or something we just did the garden buckets last May, and I had 20 kids in that.
What is it?
And the garden bucket is, we take a 5-gallon bucket, and then we got plants donated from the prison and that were already started, and I believe it was basil and tomatoes this year. They plant them in the bucket, and the kids get to take them home and watch them grow and take care of them. We teach them how to take care of them and what they grow.
So this year you can teach them how to can all those tomatoes.
I don't know if they teach a canning class. That's something to bring up.
Do you participate in the selection of the STEM monitoring team?
I do not. I was involved with the STEM mentoring this last year. I've been asked to come back again this year. That's the Boys and Girls Club that does the selection there.
Science Olympiad?
No.
No. Okay. There's lots of opportunity there. As well.
Yes.
Cool.
It's really amazing to see how involved you are at the community and our youth, and I just thank you for your hard work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I enjoy doing it.
What tools do you need?
A lot of it is just support from the community. You know, letting them know that 4-H is out there. Our biggest factor is that, you know, sports overtake 4-H. So it's getting parents on board is really the biggest problem. Otherwise, we have lots of support otherwise and lots of grant opportunities to get materials that we need.
Thank you.
Yep, thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
What?
You have Craig Hansen here.
Okay.
Turkey Valley Ditch, Washington. Maybe that's yours.
Okay. Get a motion to go into ditch board.
I move. So moved.
Can we do that ahead of schedule?
I need a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in ditch board. Mr. Hanson.
Well, welcome new commissioners.
Welcome.
I'm Craig Hansen from the Turkey Valley Ditch Association. Now, Don's had a little bit, so he knows, you guys might not even know. Because we're kind of up in the outback up there in Turkey Valley Township.
Where is that? I'm just,
Right up on the Turner County line. Anyways, for a brief, quick history for you, about 1907, they decided to try to make this man-made ditch 4.5 miles long, and it took them 2-3 years of a lot of work and taxing themselves, and they finally got it up and going. And of course, it requires a certain amount of cleaning, and it's had major cleans in the early 1940s, again in the mid 70s, and then nothing until the third, fourth, and fifth generation of owners of that strip of land through there where that ditch runs got together and time to activate it again. Well, we pretty much got it clean this past year. If we would be precisely on track, we would be done. But last year with the high amount of moisture, Pullman couldn't get around, and it wasn't efficient to try to scoop half water and half to clean it. So we hope to finish that this year. And then we would like to formulate, and we've started the process, of a watershed district. Because currently only 2,200 acres finances the maintaining and cleaning of that ditch. and 6,500 acres more or less drain into it as a direct result. And 2,600 of those acres are in Turner County. So I've already been up and let Turner County know, and they go, well, Yankton County will be the controlling county, won't they? They have more land than we do. That wasn't her exact words, was they have more staff than I do, is what the auditor said. But anyways, so we're moving forward. I've been working with Pat Garrity on this since day one, haven't I, Pat? And we held our first reorganizational meeting right here in your chairs and elected a board, and we've had elections since then because it's been and Patty's gotten to know me quite well, sending me letters of as tax money has come in and that. So it was just basically to let you know that we're out there and that we're doing. We're going to, Pat and I are going to start our comprehensive plan of what our goals and lay forth, and we're working with Denny Duncan. He's the attorney out of Parker and Sioux Falls, and he works explicitly, well, not 100% on water, but he's been instrumental in the clay ditch over there and that. So I think we got a plan. The ditch right now currently starts in section 3. I see you got your plat up there, and that's, since my mother's passing, now I own all but 80 acres of that section 3, so it's my name there, and then travels on southward. Basically, the proposed watershed would go about 2 miles north into Turner County, just up to the Coffee Road up there, if you're familiar with, and it expand from 450th to 448, sometimes nedging out just a little bit, and then south. So, of course, I am also on your Yankton County Drainage Commission. I sit with John and Dave Healy and others, so you know we're used to working with water.
How big is your watershed that you try?
Our proposed watershed would be 6,500 acres.
Is it all of Turkey Valley Township? Is it bigger than Turkey Valley?
It will go into Turner County by 2,600 acres. So, yes, otherwise it'll all be in Turkey Valley, the rest of it. 4,000 acres will be in Turkey Valley.
So is your watershed district set up then? Or
No, we're still formulating it.
so do you have a vote that folks in that area have to vote to get into the district?
The ground, the topography puts you in or out of the district. We've had Ron Gillian, engineer, lay out the parameters of the topography and states whether you're in or out. We have had some extra land added in due to tiling. The tile was laid this way, where it normally probably runoff over the top would have ran to the east or to the west and been out of our district, but due to the fact that they laid the tile this way, now the water's going to come this way. And that's one of our biggest, with the amount of tiling that's been done, we're seeing these so-called blue lines that are occasionally wet stay consistently flowing, and that's adding extra pressure to the system. And so we got to make sure the whole system keeps working. We have problems with beavers quite frequently. And we have another beaver dam, and Pullman hasn't gotten there to rip it out yet, but we have a backup right now due to beavers. So
do folks have a choice at all? I mean, I guess that's my question, is do you have some landowners who are like not excited about this?
Well, nobody's excited about taxes.
No.
Under state statute, in our first procedure is we'll get this comprehensive plan set up, and we have to have at least 2 meetings of our board to approve the plan. Then we have to have public meetings for those that are affected by it. And then there is a petition, according to our attorney Denny Duncan, that if we have over a 61% sign up on that petition, then it does not have to go to a vote. If we don't have the 61%, then it goes to a vote, then it only takes 51%, and those that are against it are forced into it. Those that are absentee landowners, like I know there's one that's in California that's no longer a South Dakota resident, they have no choice. You have to be according to the state statute from South Dakota codified law, that you have to be a resident of South Dakota, and I don't have the state statute book in front of me, but basically the first one is those that live within the confines, and then section B was those that own land but are still a state resident. So we opted for section B because we wanted to be fair with everybody, you know.
So this will go into a blue line that goes into what?
Well,
how can you get rid of the water?
How do we get rid of it? Well, Turkey Valley Ditch connects into Turkey Creek, and then it keeps rumbling on south. Eventually winds up to the Missouri.
Go into the gym first?
No, I think it's the Vermilion, isn't it, Pat? Goes to the Clay Creek one first. Okay. So.
Have you worked with like the Vermilion Water District or anything on that for?
No, I have not been in contact with them.
Brad Preheim out of Centerville.
Pardon me?
Brad Preheim is the manager.
I have his name and number because when I was up to Turner County, they suggested that I visit with him, and I've got his name and number. As of right now, all we're looking at is forming the watershed for maintenance, but we will put wording in there for future in case of expansions or the need for thereof, but we'll put that wording in there also.
The Turkey Valley Ditch, that's currently in a district, right? That's a taxable ditch district?
It's currently, yes.
But that's only adjoining?
Only
adjoining properties, right?
Correct.
So you're just looking to
There-
expand that to anything
yes.
that's draining into that ditch?
There are some parcels of land that are connected to us currently that are being taxed because of previous tiling, some of it over 100 years, or right at 100 years old, that was connected in. Right in my section, the 80 acres to my east, that actually had to go through a hill, and that was hand dug by some Norwegians out of Viborg, and 15-inch clay tiles embedded, you know. But yeah, so I mean, those that are connected by a pipe, they are also taxed accordingly.
And then the current drainage board, is that how that's, if I remember right, anybody that's wanting to outlet into that ditch district today, they are signing into that ditch district?
Correct. If
What's
they,
been happening?
correct, if somebody wants to send water that way due to tiling or whatever, then they are making a commitment to us, you know, to add their land. And that's where, like I said, when he did the proposed map, you know, and we went to some of these farmers and, okay, does this look right to you? And, well, no, I put that 15 acres and I run that tile around this way, and it goes through the culvert, through the road into this guy's, then it goes through that quarter and on down. So, you know, but at least he was honest and told us.
Have you done any, are you planning on doing any studies to see if this is going to cause any problems with the roads or any excess water or flooding or anything like that with all this?
No, we haven't done any studies to that effect. We have a brand new bridge in on 292nd. We have currently adequate culvert sizes because we're not enlarging. You know, you're still getting the same amount of water when we got that 5 inches or 6 inches of rain. It's still the same amount, you know. Basically, what we're looking for is our neighbors to go, okay, we cleaned it out. You help us continue to keep it clean.
What's the response from Turner County?
Good luck. I have farmers that are for it and against it, mainly because those that are for it have land on both sides of the county line, and they see, oh yeah, it does run downhill, and you know, sure, I'm rid of it up here, but now I'm stuck with it here. So, any other questions?
We wish you luck.
Very well, and we'll keep, you know, as we progress forward, because I believe after Pat and I and our local board do our comprehensive, we have to bring it back to you for final approval, I believe. I may be wrong on that, but you'll get to see it before.
We'll find out.
Again.
Okay.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Next, what's that? I need a motion to go out of ditch board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are now out of ditch board. Next item on the agenda, item 14, is planning and zoning issues. I believe this was put on by Mr. Swenson. He's not here. Do you want to speak on this, Jerry? Or?
Yeah, I just have a few things to mention, I guess. It's been a pretty hectic year and a half for our county. And I think as I read through the zoning ordinances, granted, I haven't read the latest updated version, but I see a lot of language in there that has some ambiguity, excuse me, and I think we need some clarification on things. And I think the biggest one for me right now is the Class F. There are folks who read it that you don't need a CUP at all, and there are folks who read it that you do. And as I read the language, it's pretty cloudy. And I think it would be wise this year if we would have our planning and zoning board to go through and try to clarify some of that language. I'm not sitting here saying one way or the other what we need to do. I think that's a community decision. But I think it needs to be fixed in black and white before we can move forward as a community and get along again. And so that's a place to start. I know there's a lot of folks out there who want to make some changes to setbacks. I'm not for or against that sitting here today. Again, that is a community conversation that we need to address before we move forward. Because there's a lot of pain out there, and I talk to everybody, and I see pain on both sides. And if we don't address it now, we're going to carry that baggage, and that's not good for anybody sitting here today. So I guess for me, in this one thing that says planning and zoning issues, is to go forth and have that public discussion, and I guarantee you it's going to be painful. But it's going to be more painful if we don't have it. And in the end, where the chips fall is where they fall. And that depends on who participates in the conversation. And hopefully we can all do that respectfully, because we haven't done that. And that's what I asked of our community. The other concern I have is we had an online zoning ordinance that was outdated, and that's causing a lot of pain for our community as well. So I think in order, now that we've experienced it, we need to have actions in place so that every time we do change the zoning ordinance, it's expected to be updated and put online as an update. And we're going to figure out how to get that done so it's efficient and it's not a burden to any one person. But I think as I look at my kids they're going to have to show me how to run this iPad, because that generation, when they go to look for information, they're going to go online first. And that is also how we remain efficient. If we expect people to come into this building all the time to get answers, we are going to have to add a lot of people to our staff. And I don't think anybody sitting here today wants to add 5, 10 people to our staff. So we need to look for ways to be efficient. And I think this is an opportunity to do that, to show the public that, yes, we have an interface that you can trust and you can go to first. And after that, if you don't have your question answered, you come in and talk to us for clarification, because our door is open. So I think that going forth and having that in black and white, a procedure, and it is on the responsibility of this commission to make sure that is getting done in a timely fashion. Another thing that I have given thought to is in April, I believe, we are to name new planning and zoning commission members. I'm sorry. I can only do one thing at one time, and Mr. Healy has just handed me something to read, and forgive me, I am a slow reader.
That's the state law.
That's the state law.
Yes.
Yep. So, so in April, right now, we have 9 members on that board. We have 7 that are appointed. So if you go out and read state law, and I wrote it down here too, state law says you have to have at least 1 county commissioner, and you have to have essentially an odd number of people, at least 5. It doesn't limit you to how many are on there. Those are the only things that state law says. And I did bring my, here's where I put it. And it is section 1705, and if you go through and read it, it says that planning, provided that when the planning commission is first appointed, the lengths of the terms shall be varied so that no more than 1/3 of the terms shall expire in the same year. So if you read that as only the ones that are appointed, that's 7. We have 4 up. And I think everybody sitting here in the audience knows that's over 50%. So we're breaking our zoning ordinances if we change 4 people in April and name them back to the board. So as a commission, we need to decide how to address that, because right now we're going to be in violation.
And that's what I was showing. That's not just violation of our ordinance, that's violation of South Dakota Codified Law 11-2-3, that no more than 1/3 of our members can change hands in 1 year. And so we might have to look to Rob for guidance on that, or we may have to get creative on how we handle this.
And then I got to thinking, well, what constitutes a 1/3? Well, if we have 7 and you only change 3, you're still in violation, because that, if I did the math right, was 43%. So the only way you can be a 1/3 is if you have 9, or if you have 3, because you'll do 1 a year, and if you have 9, you do 3 each year. So I think we give a lot of thought as to how many people, according to our zoning, can be on there, and then their terms expire. So again, we can't make any decisions today, but that is something I think we need to decide before we get to April.
Let's put it on the agenda for next.
And maybe run into some things. So certainly it'll be talking with our attorney and figuring out maybe how best to approach this. So that's really the thoughts that I had on planning and zoning as it stands right now. I'm sure as I read this new version at night, I'll run across a few other things that pique my interest, but that's what I had. Thanks for letting me speak.
I guess I'd just like to add, those are kind of some of the, I guess, glaring issues that have been brought up over the last year. One other probably main thing is some of the variances that we've been doing, especially out in the lakeside area with accessory structures and buildings. It's over and over we have requests for variances for accessory building size, and we also have a request for minimum lot size in ag districts. And I know Pat's brought it up over and over that it needs to be addressed in our ordinance. We need to look at some of these things. We either need to stop giving out variances or we need to change our ordinance. And so that, I guess, coupled with what Sherry discussed, I'd just like to see, this next year or so, I think we need to put some serious effort into reviewing our comp plan and our ordinances and try to get things clarified. And so anybody can look at a book and say, yes, this is, this accessory structure meets the requirements, it's approved, or it doesn't meet it, it's not approved. But anyway, there's a lot of work to be done, I guess.
Clean up some of the language, make it easy to understand
Right.
for everybody. Is there any other comments on zoning issues? With that, Patty said there's no public comment. Is there anybody out there who'd like to make a public comment that hasn't signed up? Anybody? Yes. Come on up, Patty. Yep. State your name too.
You need my address?
No.
Oh, great, thank you.
So, Patty Gramco, and I'm just wondering, when you clean up these ordinances, is this something that needs to be voted on? Do you do it by the commissioners? Do you do it by committee? I mean, how does that work? Depends on what it is? I don't know.
Go through the zoning and planning board first. It's gonna have to discuss it, and there's gonna be meetings, there's gonna be public meetings and time for input, and,
There's a process outlined in our current ordinance, and so it goes through planning and zoning. There's an approval process, then there's a first reading and a second reading at the commission level, a vote.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it goes.
Public notification, yeah. Or it could be, we could simply bring it to a public vote as well.
See, that's what I was wondering. When the public vote comes in, when does it have to come in?
According to the ordinance, it does not have to come into play.
Oh, okay.
If timing is right and it would fall on an election, let's say, it might make sense to do that. Or if there's major changes, I certainly think we would bring to a vote. But if it's cleaning up verbiage, it likely would just follow the process outlined. At least that's my take on it. But
Okay, and just to lighten the mood a little bit, okay, you newbies, get your mouths up to the mics.
sorry. Sorry. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a public comment at this time? Going once, going twice. All right, public comments is closed. Do we have any items we'd like to schedule for next meeting? We got the planning commission membership that you guys mentioned earlier. Anything
Yep,
else?
the HR was on there, and I had the calendar, because we didn't adopt that. I think that's the only thing I noted as we went through.
Okay. Next meeting is the 15th?
22nd.
Next meeting is the 22nd? January 22nd. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I just wanted to mention that they have an annual meeting at Toby's in Medway between Clay and Yankton County for the ditch. And the Clay County auditor emailed me and was checking to see if February 26th would be okay. And I need 3 commissioners there for sure, for a quorum.
What date?
February 26th.
What time?
The meal would be at 12 and the meeting will start at 1.
It's good with me.
What day is that? Is it a Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Sherry, for your information, I have no idea whether you can make it, but there's an LTAP training in Vermillion tomorrow at 9 to 12.
I'm on
or
it.
9 to 2.
I'm on it.
Okay.
So that'll be.
Are you
a good one.
going, Don? Do you know, or thinking about it?
Well, I've got a conflict with another meeting at 2. I think I'm gonna go until noon.
Okay.
That brings up another good discussion we should have. I think if we're having at least 2 commissioners going to something, we should just publish it as a possible quorum. And then for situations like this, then you guys could go. I think it's better to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, it's
with
too
that.
late for tomorrow, so only
Yeah.
2 go things.
Right.
So who's going tomorrow?
I will not
I'm
go.
going.
You two go? Okay, all right.
Yeah, just next, just give enough time. that
I'm
you
not,
can
no,
have-
I won't go.
We'll advertise.
Do any of the commissioners have anything else they'd like to say? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody.
Okay, you guys, I want to get.